Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the light is concerned, we'll just see what we can do. From what I've seen, there's not a lot about it. So you just keep going on and talk as you see fit, and go from there.
Okay, so what time is it? Is it 2?
2 on the dot.
Okay, let's do it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my first Facebook Live that we're actually doing. So, technical difficulties. There's a little bit of a time lag that we're working on. So be patient with us. I'm not sure that, it seems like there's a little 10-second delay, but be patient. I will do the best I can. But anyway, hi, welcome. How you doing? I know you can't answer me. You're going to be on mute. If you have any questions at all, please type them in. And my son Jesse's over on his laptop, and he will relay the question, and I'll answer anything you want to know. So I went ahead and did the prep ahead of time just because who wants to watch literally paint dry, right? So what I did was come in with the multi-purpose sealer, which you will see in about 10 seconds. And, apply that generously to the piece. When it was dry, I lightly sanded it with 220. There you go. I sanded it with 220 sandpaper. And then I applied a nice thick coat of Dove Gray. And then when that was dry, I did another quick light sand with the 220 grit and applied another light layer on top, which actually had a little bit of water in it, and that just kind of leveled everything out, and I've got a nice, smooth, beautiful surface. Transferred my border line on here, which you can't see, but you will shortly. Printed out my pattern onto the transferable vellum. And what we're going to do now is tape this down. And I'm going to transfer the pattern, black transfer paper, graphite, right? Make sure that's centered. Sorry about that. All right, so I'm going to transfer the pattern on. Not so much concerned about that little vine, but I will put it there. So with this, because I work with washes, we don't necessarily want a really hard line, but you do want to be able to see the transfer lines through the washes. So I kind of do a medium pressure. I don't want it like dark, but I also, like I said, we want to be able to see it through the washes. So do this really quick. My least favorite part of painting is transferring the pattern on. Okay. Am I going to do my little seams? You know what? I am. Just so I don't have to go back and do this again. Notice, like I always anchor my finger. It keeps it from wobbling. Well, that's not really even showing up, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay, basic pumpkin and the bird. We are good to go. So obviously not as dark as I would like it to be. So just for the sake of you being able to see it, I'm going to just come in with my pencil really lightly on top of that. So this one is Bittersweet. Companion to the others. Tomorrow, Jesse, what am I painting tomorrow? Which one? Caught him off guard.
Yeah, I don't remember.
He doesn't know. Anyway, would be nice if we figured it out so that they would be prepared if they're painting along. I'm wondering how many are watching and how many are painting along. But anyway, all right, so at this point, I'm going to tape this off with painter's tape and fill in my border. Paint it lamp black. I do go through quite a bit of painter's tape. Okay, and I know there are tricks to trying to get this right dead on. Really press that edge. There are tricks to finding a way to keep it from seeping through, even though the tape, you know, is down there firmly. Sometimes I'm known to actually use a little bit of water with my paint. So I'm going to come back in with my multi-purpose sealer. And I am going to grab a little bit of it and just kind of overlap the tape and the edge of the border. And then when that's dry, that should eliminate any kind of seepage under the tape. So I have to let that dry. And my favorite way of doing that is with and it'll show up in about 10 seconds, the Ranger Heat It craft tool. It's really great. It's quiet. I can talk over it while I'm teaching, and dries really fast. It does, however, heat up your piece, so you have to be mindful of that. You don't want to cook your washes or your paint on there. So then once this is dry, I'll base coat that black. We don't have to do this now, of course, but you know, when you're done, I came in and I painted the edges black in the back as well, but kind of a nice little finished look. So I'm going to come in with black. I'm not going to bother with the edges right now for the sake of time. Okay. Dry it. So, yeah, that worked out pretty good. And if you do get a little bit of a bleed, all you have to do is come back in with the Dove Gray, which is a nice, thick, opaque paint, and touch up any little seepage area. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is paint the pumpkin. And you don't necessarily have to do the stem, although it doesn't really matter one way or the other. I'm going to come in with my larger brush. This is the number 10 floater. 8 floater. I was wrong. 8 floater, and we're going to pick up some buttermilk, and I'm going to mix a little puddle here. So you want this very transparent, because if it's really dark, and buttermilk is a nice opaque color, nice and thick, so if it's really dark, you're not going to be able to see any details, you know, your transfer lines. So I am going to, and I like to grab the edges with my paint. Even though it's a wash, it still kind of diminishes that line a little bit. So I do one section at a time. I'm going to come in with my sash brush. This is a 5/8 Jack Richardson sash brush. You'll see that in a few seconds. And I like to stipple it. I stipple the edge where I leave off. That way it just kind of blends into the background. You know what? For the sake of having a nice wash on my pumpkin, I'm going to get over stippling on my borderline, but that's all right too because I can touch it up. Come back into that little pile of buttermilk. Again, when I do this, I'm grabbing the edge, the transfer liner, in this case it's graphite, and they kind of meet in the middle. So the float on one side, washy float. Come in up on the other side, and you know what? I am going to bring a little bit of that up into the stem. It's not going to matter one way or the other. So, and then very, very, very light pressure when it's a stipple, so it's a straight up and down stipple. So super light pressure. I've got a little bristle there. I'm going to wait for that to dry, and then I'll pick it off. Give it another dry. You're going to see me using my heat gun constantly. But that's okay. This is how I paint at home anyway. So I think this is a fun little grouping for just in time for autumn and Halloween. So that's one layer. I'm going to come back in and I'm going to do a second layer. This time, what's going to happen is, because even though we could do our spiced pumpkin and burnt orange washes on the pumpkin, it's not going to be as bright looking if we do it on the dove gray background. So with a little bit of buttermilk, it's going to make our colors brighter and softer looking. So that's my theory behind using so much buttermilk. And I like buttermilk because it's not too bright like white. And I have yet to try light buttermilk. I probably should, but. And antique white is a little, I mean, it depends on, what I'm painting, but antique white is a little on the darker side, so. Okay, so now I'm going to dry it. That should do it. Yes, I made a mess, and I'm absolutely fine with that. So I'm going to come in and pick up a tiny bit of dove gray because I went out of the lines there. And we don't want that to show. Everything else is fine. And this is annoying me, so I'm going to just pick up a little bit of black. You'll see that in a second. Here we go. This is crazy, this Facebook Live. No, nobody has any questions? So when I work with washes, I feel like I'm not even touching the surface. My touch is so light. It's like sketching, right, back and forth, because you've got you've got plenty of water on there. It's that kind of gives you a lot of range, to go back and play and push and pull and all kinds of things, versus a solid base coat of something. You have to go back. If you make a mistake, you have to repaint the whole thing. So I was just touching up a little smudge there. Okay. I know I probably should follow the pattern per se, but let's paint the crow solid black right now, okay? And get that out of the way, and then we can start in on the fun stuff. So what I am going to do is have a little bit of water on my brush so that I've got a heavy, inky consistency. You'll see that coming up soon. Wait for it. Come on. There we go. Anticipation. Okay, so anyway, by having a bit of water on my brush allows me to take my time and play with this and get it exactly how I want it. And then, and with the tip of, again, this is the number 8 that I'm using. I could get these tiny details, even though this is basically a wash. I can get those little sharp end on his beak. So go back to my little pile of paint mixture. And then just take my time. Come in, and he's going to go right behind that stem, so the stem is going to be in the front. You know, and if you go make him a little larger than he should be, or go outside of your lines, like I just did, you can go back when this is done and pick up some Dove Gray and touch it up. I can always tell when I'm working on details or an area where I really want to kind of nail the shape. I'm way down on my ferrule, basically guiding that tip to, you know, where I want it to be and do what I need it to do. And again, because it's such a large brush, it's still holding the water, so that's good. Okay, so, and when I'm done, I will dry it, and then I'll come back in and do another probably black wash on top of it, just to make sure that it's all blended and nice and dark. So this is considered an opaque coat. Ooh, I lost his head. So watch how I fix that. I'm going to dry it. And I didn't do it on purpose for a learning moment. I basically messed up. So good for you to see that, because it happens to everybody. So down here I went a little crazy. Oh my. All right, and then his head should be a little more, yeah, like that. Okay. So we're going to dry it, and I'm going to give him another quick layer, because it does look a little bit blotchy. Hope you're all having a great day. Hope if you're just on Facebook browsing and you stopped, I hope you're watching and enjoy this. All right. I'm gonna try that good. So I'm just going to take my pencil and kind of re-establish those little choppy ends on the stem. And then I'm going to, again, use my larger brush, and we're going to pick up burnt orange. You're watching me do the stem right now. Nice. Good job, Lynn. Okay, and I'm right here now sticking the tip into my burnt orange, mixing it. So err on the side of too much water, because you can always add layers. I'm gonna wait till you see me mix it. There we go. Yeah, because if you put the brush down and there's more paint than water, it's going to be hard to move that around really fast. So I am going to take again, this is the number 8, which seems to be good for the larger areas, and I'm going to start at the bottom and just kind of grab whatever, mix I have on my brush, am working down at the bottom because the bottom is going to be the darkest area, even though this is a wash and it's on the lighter side. Technically, it's going to be, you know, the shaded area. And then I start to move that wash upward, moving my piece around as I go. And now I could go all the way up and show you, but a really good hint when using washes. I'm going to clean my brush, blot it a little bit, but I still have quite a bit of water on here. And this edge where I leave off, I'm going to wet it so that if it does start to dry, I can just easily start where I left off and continue with the wash and have it blended, and you'll see that in a second. So again, I'm using my sash brush, the 5/8. This honestly does the work for me with my washes. I, you know, you saw that blotchy mess, right? And then, yep, there I am stippling. And it blends everything up beautifully. So again, I've got the same wash. I'm going to come in at the top here. So my first layer of wash, I always like to, you know, err on the side of caution and do a light wash, because it doesn't even matter what color you're working with. It's always intimidating to put that first color down, I think. So, and then just stipple that. Okay, that's my first layer. Alrighty. Now we're going to wait for this to cool off and then do a second layer, maybe being a little more generous with the burnt orange this time, meaning just pick up a little bit more color. It's still kind of warm. That's the only bad thing about my heat gun. Okay, this time I'm going to do it all in one shot. So notice how I am putting the brush flat down across the bottom. That's basically how I do my floats. So by doing that, you get a nice wide float line, the length of the bristles, if that makes sense. It's going to come on up this side. Oops, whoops. That's the other fun thing about washes, is that you can take your finger and wipe away any boo-boos, because it's more water than paint. Okay, so starting at the top now, the stippling, and I'm putting a little, weight onto it, little heavier pressure, and then lightening up on my pressure down towards the bottom, just to blend it rather than remove any paint. Sometimes I'll even take my finger and kind of press down and pick up a little bit of extra color, just so that we've got our highlighted area and, darker lower part. Okay, so I'm going to try that. You're about to see me stick my finger in it. Yep, there we go. There we go. This is pretty funny, because I can, I've already painted it, so I'm watching it on the camera, and, yeah, I'm in the laptop. Okay. All right, so I think if you're aware of my technique and have painted with me before, you know that I do layering of different colors a lot. And I don't know, I can kind of create my own color palette that way, unique colors. So especially with pumpkins, my favorite thing is to start with the burnt orange and then come in with a spiced pumpkin on over it, which is beautiful color. Love it, love it, love it. And it just gives it this lovely pumpkin color glow, you know. So this I'm going to just put over all the whole thing, not trying to be light or dark. And I call it glazing or an overwash. Get that nice and soft looking. I like to clean up my messes as I go. I am forever getting bizarre colors on my pieces. I don't really know how I do it. It's a gift, I know. It's a gift. Alright, so I'm going to dry that really well. So my pattern says transfer the individual lines on the pumpkin now, which I can't see them anymore, so mine were really light to begin with. I'm going to look at the sample, and I can tell you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. So I'm going to eyeball it with my pencil. 1, 2. The one in the center I usually go straight. To the left, you know, I curve it inward, and to the right, I do the opposite, curve it inward. Oh, that might have been a little too much. It's okay. So, what I did, loaded my brush with burnt umber, a float, and then just floated along the transfer line all the way down. If you need to mop as you go, awesome, but I'm going to wait until, yep, I'm going to erase that. Okay. So the way I load for a float, I'm going to load it in the buttermilk so you can see it on the brush. But, of course, when I'm done, I'm going to load it in the burnt umber the same way. So I wet my brush, blot it a couple of times on a paper towel, and I'm going to stick the tip into the buttermilk. You'll see this eventually. And it's basically the same way you load a flat or an angle brush. You know, this would be comparable to the corner, the point of your, say, angle brush, right? And then you do these nice little back and forth, motion. I kind of do the same thing, except I stay in one little area, one little puddle. And as I'm just rolling it around, I'm working that paint up into the bristles this way. So I've got the majority of the paint still on the tip. You'll see in a minute. And then I've got my paint water right more like towards the center, and then the remainder of the brush is water. So now I'm going to do it in burnt umber so you can see. I'll do this on a piece of paper or something. Same thing, except I go really fast when I do it. So I can generally tell. I may have too much water on there, but until I actually float, I don't know, right? So, say this is like the seam on the pumpkin and we want to float up to it. So I've got my brush all loaded. What I do is I hold my brush. Okay, I'm showing you now how I just load it back and forth, back and forth. Okay, so I'm holding my brush parallel to the surface, not at a 45 like you're painting, like you're holding a paintbrush or a pencil. I'm holding it more flat. My wrist is more upward. So I put the tip of the brush up against where I'm going to float. Right there, that's the seam on the pumpkin. And then I start to kind of push and pull and go back and forth and work that float right up where I want it. Back and forth, push and pull. And it gives me that nice soft float. But then I'll come in, if I need to, with a soft, clean, dry mop and mop back and leave as much or take off as much as I want. That's how I control it. Generally, I can get away with not having to mop like in a small area like this, but you never know. Because I said that I'll probably need to. But I'm getting ready to do the float now, so I was watching myself mop. Okay, so now I'm going to take the tip of the brush, and I'm going to, and this is the 8. I just find sometimes it's easier using a little bit bigger brush. And I don't really want these sections super, like, dark. It's more about the float up against the transfer line. And I'm going to come back in to my little pile of float paint water mixture. So, just to prove a point, you can just kind of tap that edge a little bit if you want to. Okay, and just continue on. And I'm just super mindful that the tip of my brush is right on my transfer line or graphite, because that's how I hide them, how I get rid of my transfer lines. So I had to reload. See the difference? I've got a lot of water on there, so I just blotted my brush off to the side on a paper towel and came back. I generally like to reload something like this. You want it consistent, so I reload with each new line. And I'm absolutely fine that my lines aren't perfectly straight because it's a pumpkin and it wouldn't be. It's folk art, so, there's definitely wiggle room. Glides right along. And I'm not trying to do like, that perfect float. I am back and forth and pushing and pulling. No questions, Jess? They don't, they're riveted. That must be it. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in. I'll be happy to answer. And if I don't know the answer, I'll make it up. Kidding. Actually, am I? Okay, so that's the float. Pretty soon there we are. Now I'm just drying it. Okay, the stem is going to be really fun to do because for now we're just going to get some plantation pine on there. And plantation pine is a very transparent color, so it's going to take a couple of layers. But that's okay because these little ridges on there, we're going to do with a chartreuse colored pencil. If you don't have a colored pencil, you could use something like yellow green or Hauser light green or something. I like that little bit shocking pop of color there. But anyway, that's down the road. But we are going to take that plantation pine and come in and fill in the little stem. I do love plantation pine. I think it's a great green. My only problem with it is that how transparent it is. And when I go to do a base coat of it, it's impossible to do like 50 coats. So I tend to just do a base coat of black green first. And then I'll do the plantation pine on top. And that works pretty well. I'm thinking about things like frames or, a box. Okay, well that looks gross, but that's okay. I'm going to dry it and give it another layer, and we're going to cover that up with pretty colored pencil. We're not going to do the fun stuff yet. Right now we have to do the basics. Leave the fun stuff for later. Make you sit there and wait. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, I think you're going to be surprised how easy the crow is going to be to do. I mean, it's just super subtle. If you want to give yourself a little graphite line approximately where the wing is going to be, you can do that. I don't know if you can even see that, but I think I'm going to switch to my number 6 and wet it, and I'm going to pick up some Snow Titanium White. You want an inky consistency, so you want a decent amount of water, but controlled where it's not going to come gushing out of the tip of your brush, right? You definitely need to control it. So what I'm going to do is just grab that little wing line, very, very light, kind of just sketch it in a little bit, and it's fine to use little choppy lines. In fact, I encourage it. I get a little bit on the stem, but I'll pick it up. Okay, so it's just kind of, and it'll look more realistic too if you make them choppy versus like one straight perfect line. You don't want to do that. Okay, so then I'm going to come in right up on the wing and just kind of tap in, like, I don't know if you can even see that, but they're like little connected U's to imply the little wing feathers, right? You don't necessarily need to make them go, just, can you see that okay on your screen? Do you need to, can you zoom in? By any chance? I'm not sure.
Let's give it a try.
Okay. Hold on, he's gonna try and zoom me in. My son Jesse. My tech man. Of course, it's gonna take 10 seconds. We'll see. Patiently waiting. I got nothing. Nope. I don't see that it did. Oh, there we, woohoo! He did it. Now it's going to be too close, but that's all right. Remember, this is my first time. All right. So the little kind of connected U's, and then I'm going to come in and do a few in between. Then when you get about halfway, I'm going to make sure I'm under the camera. This is, they can't see what I'm doing. There we are. Be patient. Okay. Then when you get about halfway, we're going to just take those little lines and then pull the long ones down. Okay, and that's the end of the wing. Okay, then there's another little section right about here, halfway between the wing and the end of the tail. And I just come in right about here and do those little U's, maybe a couple of little lines. That's kind of like that little extra, whatever that is. And then some longer lines on the end. And notice that this is on the lighter side. This isn't heavy paint, so it's still diluted. Then the beak, I'm going to take the very tip of my brush and kind of imply the end of it. Hold on, I'll wait.
So keep going.
Okay. He's got a nostril. If you know me, I'm like ridiculous about nostrils. All right, now the eye, is right about here, and literally like one hair on the tip of your brush. If you can do like a little tiny U, upside down U. A little tiny dot of white. There we are, upside down U. Little dot of white. All right, great. And then the only other thing that I did was a dry brush of some white on the chest, which I'm going to use my number 4 stipler. It's a true dry brush, so no water involved. Just kind of load it in the white, work it in really well. Grab a paper towel. Wipe the excess off. So I am super heavy-handed, so what I like to do is kind of test it on my, see, I didn't wipe off enough, so you can zoom out now, huh? All right, so I'm just going to lightly drag that across the chest. Maybe a little bit down past it. And yes, I got some on my stem, but that's okay. I'm going to come back and paint right over that. And that is all there is to this particular crow. That was fun. So I said at this point to transfer the vines on. If I was a good teacher, I probably would do that. But I'm just going to kind of look at my sample and freehand it. So what you would do is put your pattern on there with your graphite underneath it and give yourself the little vine lines. Am I going to do it? No. So I'm just going for it like that. Then there's another one here that kind of comes up like this. The thing is, you just want to try and make them loose and not all exact and perfect. I think there's some little kind of curly cute things coming out. We can play along with that later, but okay. So I did use a fine point brown marker, and I think it's a great thing if you're comfortable using it. And I know not everybody is going to use go out and buy a $20 technical pen, but this is what I use. And let me find. This is it. It's a Rotring is the brand. You'll see this in a second. Actually, this is a great time to show you how to load it and what I do. I'm not going to actually load it, but okay. So it is a German brand. 0.20 is not the finest point, but it's pretty close to it. Let me show you up against some white. Really, really fine point. Little tiny steel point. So you can't bear down hard. And actually, the lighter your touch, the better it's going to work. So the yellow signifies the size. Excuse me, I got allergies. And, you know, the 0.10 is the smallest size. Then it unscrews. This pops off. This is your ink chamber. Do I have any ink close by? I don't. You just, all the ink bottles are like this, and that pops off, and that fits right inside there, and you fill it up to the designated line. Then you pop it back on, screw this back on, and then you shake it to activate it. And I really love them, and they last a long time, and they're temperamental. So this one I happen to filled with sienna color ink. And just to show you a little bit of what it'll do, I'm actually going to come in and probably paint these on. But the thing is, before the ink sets, you can actually take a damp brush and kind of play with it and soften it and bleed it out a little bit. And it's awesome. But that really wouldn't be fair to you because I don't think all of you have tech pens. So it occurred to me this morning, thinking about the class today, color pencil, why not? So I've got a burnt ochre here and I've got a sienna brown. This is absolutely not on the pattern if you purchase the set, but why not? So let me try it. Seeing it here first, guys. And it gives it a little more darkness because of the graphite that I did, or your transfer lines. So that is the burnt ochre, which is absolutely fine. This one is the sienna brown. So let me give you the numbers if you want to jot that down. So this is Prismacolor Premier. The burnt ochre is $9.43, and the sienna brown is $9.45. Either one, I think, would be great. So that being said, I'm gonna actually paint them in burnt umber now, like a normal painter. So again, you know, kind of inky consistency. You just want to make sure you cover your lines. If you have too much water on there, it's going to blob out and make a mess, and then you'll mop it up, and then you have to start all over again. So nobody wants to do that. So again, I know it's a little overkill using this size brush, but honestly, it's because it holds so much water that I feel like I can do that comfortably. I'm making up vines now. So I gave you 3 options. You've got a technical pen or a marker. I would test if you use something like a Sakura Micron first. What did you just do?
Just for to see comments.
Oh, okay. Yes, it is Dove Gray. I'm finally reading your comments. Off camera, Plantation Pine is still available. Yes, it is. Hi, Fran. Okay, so I've got my vines on. Something that I do like to do is, oh, I forget the top part. Something that I like to do is come back in once I've got my line work on there and give it kind of a kind of like almost gives it a fuzzy look. I come in with a little tiny bit of milk chocolate just on the tip of my brush and come in underneath the vine and float it a little bit, soften it. And the milk chocolate is such a beautiful color. It's a little bit warmer. Use my finger to mop up if I do get sometimes a little carried away. But I feel like it really makes a huge difference with it. I'm hoping that it's showing up. I'm not going to do it everywhere, but you will, in a perfect world, get this video once we're done, and my son can and that is for the people that have signed up for the collection. But people that have just kind of stumbled onto this today. Awesome. I hope you enjoy watching me paint. Okay, so the vines are done. Let me see what my directions say. Shading, lettering, plaid border. Okay, so I mean, who am I trying to kid? I'm just going to go for it now and kind of do my own thing anyway. There needs to be some shading done around the outside edges, and I did that with burnt umber. Still using my large brush, my number 8. So that's going to be, we're going to start right underneath the crow on the outside edge of the pumpkin. And float all the way down the edge. Okay. Flip it around to the other side. See how the brush, as I'm doing it, kind of just, I keep my eye right on the tip of the brush and pull it, and then the bristles all just kind of cooperate. And because it, it's a full-bodied brush with, longer bristles, but it comes to a chiseled point, it kind of just wraps itself around whatever curve you're floating up against. All right, stop. Floated around the outside. I did not do any float around the crow. What I am going to do, actually I'm going to wait. Never mind. Just talking to myself. So now we can start to do some little plantation pine leaves. And these are going to be very muted. So I'm kind of working that in, and I just put the tip of my brush down and pull. That's the extent of my leaves. And some of them you want like really, really muted. So I'll take my finger and kind of make them really light. That do some curlicues. Color pencil's working great. A lot easier doing this than having to paint them. All right, so now we'll just do soft little leaves here and there. Come back and join us tomorrow for, what am I painting, Jess? Do you know?
No,
We haven't figured it out yet. Does anybody out there know what I'm doing tomorrow? That's pretty sad, isn't it? We're in the process of getting ready for New England traditions.
Oh, it's magical.
Oh, magical. The kitty, right? Is that magical or bewitched?
The owl.
Owl. This is tomorrow. If you want to come by. And wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. If anybody knows how to fix this delay, I would be delighted in hearing from you. It's crazy. Here we are. This is tomorrow. Oops. Our little owl. Okay. Same time, same place. All right. Also, I came in with some, you could do milk chocolate or you could do burnt umber leaves. Those are the ones that have really dried up. Alrighty, just for a little variety. Before we start adding the berries, I came in with orange, Spanish orange, number 1003, and it's fantastic. So I use it as a little pop of highlight on my piece. I'm hoping you can see the difference. You know, you can put this anywhere you want. I'm not doing everywhere. And I like to not do a really hard, coloring, because you end up kind of burnishing it, and you can't do more layers. So, what I like to do is, lightly draw it on. Then I like to come back in and burnish it with this is my number 2 stippler, and I just lightly, it's basically dry brushing over it on top of it, but it's called burnishing. And it gives it a nice little glow that wasn't there before. So, and you can extend some down if you want. All right, so now that I've got that on there, there's a little bit of a highlight that I put on, and that's also with a white colored pencil, if I can find it. I don't know, it was here earlier. Possibly could, do it the old-fashioned way and dry brush it on. Oh, here it is. Gee, I can't imagine why I couldn't find it. It's so tiny. So, same thing. That's more on the upper part. Again, really light touch. I'm not necessarily going to do it all the way around. Okay, so I did kind of the center up towards the top of each one, and now I'm going to take my stippler and dry brush it on, so it dulls it down a little bit, so it's not quite so, looks like it was colored on, right? It's just more of a soft highlight. You'll see it when I wipe it with my finger too, kind of blend it in. There we go. Yep. And that's not to say you couldn't do a little bit more over here on the left. It's really fun. I don't think I've got the patience to do a whole thing with colored pencil, but I love a bit of an accent of it. It gives the painting so much more depth, I feel. Okay, so that's that. Let's do the chartreuse colored pencil on the stem. Okay, so with each little jagged section down at the bottom, I just kind of start there and I like to do little circular lines, work it all the way up, and then do a little kind of choppy lines on top of that. Leave a little space between them. Now, if you find it's getting a little, the chartreuse is getting too close to, the other lines, you can always come back in with plantation and kind of paint between the rows. And they don't need to all go up towards the top either. How cool is that? And easy. right? I'm not going to dry brush that or anything because it's pretty dark and I don't want it any lighter. Okay, so now the no, we're not going to do berries yet. We're going to do one more thing. We're going to come in around the outside edges again. We already did, we floated burnt umber. Now we're going to float milk chocolate. Same thing, but I'm going to come a little bit farther out this time. You just don't want to have a hazy, you know, a distinct line. You want it kind of hazy and kind of muted off into the dove gray background. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So just make sure if you did use a marker to do your vines, just make sure that it's waterproof before you go and do this. If not, you can avoid this step. Okay, so I feel like that just kind of warms it up, kind of sets it in place, gives it like a nice vibe. Now we can do the berries. I go to a stylist, and the colors are, I think it's just, let me double check, Country Red and Marigold. Could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. Okay, Bittersweet Berries are Country Red and Marigold. Nailed it. So, just random clusters. So, I don't know if you've got bittersweet where you live, but here it grows wild around our fields. And what it does, it's a vine, so it latches onto trees and grows up into the trees, so it's pretty hard to get. But they are like a vibrant, like a orangey red berry, but until they're cut or, you know, they start to dry up, they're covered with these bright yellow shells, like petals. And then as they start to dry, the shells open and it's like a little flower petal around them. So that's really cool. I love to decorate with bittersweet around the house. Lucky enough to have a good stash here. Although it is poisonous. Okay, maybe. So hard to stop. Okay, now I'm going to come in with the marigold. Kind of scattered in with the other berries. This has been fun. Still have a little bit to do. Can you overdo it? I don't know. Maybe, but we'll have fun doing it. Let me do a little spice pumpkin. Whoa. A little spice pumpkin. I don't know if that's really going to show up. Let me try burnt orange. Looks very fall-like. Okay. That's going to take forever to dry. even though, you know, they're kind of crusting over from the heat, you know, underneath it's still wet. So, but as long as we have the outer part somewhat dry. All right. Coming back to the milk chocolate. Let's just work on down on the lower part. So I'll wait for the 10 seconds. What I did was come in with the milk chocolate, and I floated underneath the black border, down each side, across the bottom, and back up. Just to, you know, just almost like framing that little section in. Okay, so I'll come in. I'll do each side because with a float, I find, you know, if I go to do like a corner, then you kind of get rid of the float you just did by wiping it out, trying to, you know, float across the other direction. So I'm going to dry the two ends. Really should let that cool off. Okay, and then I'm going to float across the bottom. And then across the top. And I am going to look for a nice soft mop because I do want some of that gray in the center. Okay, so I will do that again, but in the meantime, we're going to do all the edges up around the outside. Okay. Watching me do the bottom part. All right. I will go back and make that darker. That's just my preference, but so we're going to take that same milk chocolate float and I just kind of grab the edge. Putting the tip of my brush right on that edge. It's almost angled slightly. Bring it all the way down, walk it across a little bit, and then I'm going to use my sash brush. It's going to look kind of messy. We'll do another light layer, and that will blend it and make it a little softer looking. I'm flipping it around, and I'm going to come back in on the other edge. Go back into my little pile and reload if needed. Okay, so I know it doesn't look very good right now, but it'll get better. If you do find you lost your way and came out a little too far, you can always come in with your Dove Gray and kind of use your finger to blend it in. That works. Okay. Got it on his beak. All right, so I'm going to do this again, all the way around and across the bottom. Gonna get just the right ratio. That's what I want. See with the second layer what a difference it makes. And they were both light layers, equally, you know, the same amount of paint, but it just kind of enhances that first float and blends it out. Yeah, I like it. Still wet, so I'm gonna come in. Okay. Like I said, if you feel like you got a little carried away with the milk chocolate, you can always come in with the Dove Gray and kind of like dry brush back, right? Hey Sylvia, how you doing, my friend? Miss you. Okay, I got a little messy with my milk chocolate on my black. It doesn't really show other than it looks dull. So clean that up. All right, so I did a little plaid down at the bottom. I say go for it with a colored pencil. Unless you are crazy like I am and love doing it with a brown marker. And do I measure anything? What do you think? What do you think? Of course I don't. Just go for it. So, what I'm going to do is little double rows vertically. You'll see in 10 seconds. I really, really, really am not a fan of this delay at all. I do apologize for that. Maybe we can figure it out. So they're not straight. And that's fine, right? I think, you know, if you're that person and you need a ruler, okay. Just remember, it's felt art. Okay, so then I've got 3-ish rows going horizontal. This is where I have to really kind of hold it. For me, painting or drawing a straight line, I need to pull it towards me. It's the only way I can get it straight. The beauty of this, though, is you'll see as soon as I... Beauty of this is I can anchor my little finger right here and then pull, you know, drag it down as I go, as I guide. So that being said, we'll see. Wow. Yes, I am completely bragging because that never happens. Not, you know, under a camera anyway. Although they're still pretty wiggly, so. Just adding little curly cues. And all right, I think other than our lettering, so you can transfer your lettering on with white transfer paper if you want, but I say it's going to be easier for you if you just use your own printing or cursive handwriting. That's just my opinion, but I did use the Jelly Roll 08 Sakura. This is from, I know originally I got them from Michael's, but you can get them anywhere. And I just bought like 40 of them from Amazon for my classes at Net. So say what you will. It's a fantastic gel pen. So all I did, I'm kind of eyeballing on here. Starts right about there, ends right about there. I could have come over a little bit more, so I think I will. So I'm trying my pen out, make sure that it's running. Do a little wiggle on my tape down below. You'll see that shortly. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you, to do your own printing or handwriting. And it's funny that I did cursive. I usually print. But anyway, yep, wiggle, wiggle. There you go. Okay, I'm going for it. So, and of course, you could write any word on here. Wow, that's not very good at all. Looks like Bittersweet. But anyway. Oh, you know what you can do? Paint right on top of it. You have to know there's a way for me to fix things. So that worked out well. I really did that on purpose to just show you how to fix it. Yeah, I don't buy it either. This is so weird not having any banter with people. I don't think I would rather be talking to you, chatting. Okay, start over again. It's better. So yeah, you can fix it if you need to. I'm thinking it's done. I'm gonna heat set my lettering. That's the other thing. Whenever I use any kind of a marker or anything, I always heat set it. That will buy you time to, if you need to erase any transfer lines underneath it, or if you have to, paint up near it or close to it. Let me just show you a product. Jess, could you do me a favor? Can you get me the bottle of Final Fix up there in the bookcase? Thanks. Thank you. Okay, this is what I use now. You'll see it in 10 seconds. This is what I use to finish off all my pieces now. It's non-toxic. It's odor-free. It's all natural. And it's actually something that Degas formulated for his oil paintings. It is made up of, let's see if I can find it. It's made up of casein, beeswax, alcohol, and water. And I can sit here and spray my pieces. So there is the Final Fix, which is obviously the last layer, the final layer. And then there's also one that is for layering. It just says all media. But I use that in between, like if I'm doing a lot of ink work or colored pencil, and I don't want to lose what I've got on there, I'll do like a light layer of that. That's the same thing. That doesn't have casein wax in it, though, but it has the beeswax. It leaves a beautiful kind of warm, shimmering finish on it. So, and also you can, if you need to touch something up, you can paint on top of it. So I got one of these. This is a pump spray. And when you spray it, you get more droplets. So I bought one of these misters on Amazon and dumped this bottle into this, and I labeled it because I have one for my layering and one for my Final Fix. And I just want to show you. you shake it up, and you hold it about 12, 18 inches away, and it does a light mist. And I can sit here and dry it, which I do. I'll do 2 to 3 light layers, and it really is a phenomenal product. So I sell it. Dick Blick sells it. Amazon sells it. Although the last time I checked, it was pricey on Amazon, but I try to be sell it for, you know, what the manufacturer retails it for. But it's wonderful. It really is. So that being said, I think we finished in record time. I don't seem to have a delay. You don't have a delay? Who is Big Dog's Little House? You don't have a delay? That's awesome. So I'm making a fool of myself over here? My sister lives in Delray. For that pen, do you have to use a specific ink? For so what I use India ink for the Rotring technical pen, and I like Rotring has their own brand. Actually, let me show you. I have so many different colors. This is the Rotring brand. You probably can't see it. This is also Rotring, but Kohinoor has a good product. Also, this is Rapidograph Ultra Dry ink. This is like readily available. I like it. You just don't want anything that has water-based ink to it. You want the India ink. That responds well. And if you do decide to use white, this is like the best white, but you have to shake it because it gets separated. You have to shake it good before you load your pens. You actually have one with red ink in it as well. I love them. And you know I do a lot of lettering and inking and whatnot, so. So, my friends, I think I need to go take a drink and maybe some allergy medicine. And I've loved doing this with you, even though I feel like I have, I'm sitting out here all by myself talking. But it's been wonderful spending the time with you, and let's do it again tomorrow. We'll do, let me do an infomercial. Tomorrow will be magical. Wait for it. 10, 9, 8, kidding. And then I don't know after that. Do you know? What I'm doing the third day?
Yeah, it's magical, and then bewitched, and then enchanted.
Magical. Yeah. Then bewitched. And then enchanted. So, I'll be here waiting for you. 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. I love you. God bless.